Welcome to those who game and those who don't. Another Abyssus run today, this time with a theme. We're doing the Prospector. Based of course off the Gold Rush, so we're going to run the Revolver for the Old West, and the Frag Grenade to mimic our Dynamite. The most recent update lets you max out your soul wheel, so this is what I'll be running from here on. Make sure you get that done for yourself as well. And you don't have to do this, but I like to play on the highest deep water level I have available, and mine is currently deep water 16 with the layout shown here. You do not have to play with this deep water level, you can choose whatever difficulty for the game that you like. We're going to run Fortune on the primary because we're a Prospector first and above all. We're going to run Barrier on the secondary because we always need the correct equipment. And we're topping it off with Souls on the Dynamite because this job was not without its lethality. I can hear the Abyss calling. You've come to see Claymore play more, so let's get into it. At the end of the first chamber, we get some gold out of these chests, as well as an Overkill Talisman to replace Overdrive that we started with. It's always a good idea to take your time these first few chambers and try to avoid unnecessary damage like I took just there, because the chambers will only get more difficult with time, so we're going to want all the health we can muster. Upon clearing chamber 2, we're rewarded with a lock chest for some gold and more max health. I like to pre-pop any barrels that look like they might get in my way or hurt me. You're about to see I find out rather early that the enemy's 30% chance to turn into a ghost after death pops rather frequently. We finish the chamber, get some gold out of this box, and I find an aspect of defense for my secondary. Moving forward, corrupted chambers allow us to fight harder enemies to receive greater rewards. A nice thing about our Dynamite is that, although not every stage has them, it can really easily pop environmental hazards like so. I clumsily finish out the stage and am rewarded with this chest that offers me a new blessing already. We go ahead and take Stacking Barrier and find a blessing upgrade for our secondary. In Chamber 2 I try to explode this hazard, but I found out for some reason it just rather wouldn't. So I go about fixing the rest of the pipes before dealing with any of the enemies. With that finished, I'm able to tackle the enemies without any more respawning. It's also a good rule of thumb to target flying enemies first, because if they're not quick at evading and fast to attack, they're usually shielding their allies. I also finally remember that I have a barrier, so I put my helmet on. Chamber 2 grants us so graciously a health fountain, and we move on to the third. When you have Barrier, it's a good rule of thumb to try to activate it at the beginning of the chamber like I do here, but unlike me, you'll probably have a better chance activating it if you stand still for a moment, and actually aim. It takes me a moment, but I managed to find the last enemy. After its defeat, I'm rewarded with an Ancient Forge so I can upgrade both my ability and my weapon. Crowd control is king, so I take Implosive Force on my Dynamite and Overload Bullets on my gun so I can stack Barrier more quickly. Using the last two of my free rerolls, I'm able to get Fortune on my primary, finally striking gold. Because we chose the Corrupted Chamber with an extra reward, this boss does have 2 random modifiers. However, the boss itself isn't too difficult, we just gotta focus these brine chambers to open the core and then get rid of it. Don't forget, after one of its tanks is broken, it will start to rise the brine level in the entire room. Make sure you get on one of the elevated shelves. Watch the bar below your reticle and make sure you keep refilling your barrier as often as you can. But don't worry, the further you get into the run, the more automated this process will be. When your last brine tank is finally destroyed, make for high ground and focus on the core. As I savor my victory, I find myself a legendary talisman, the Thief's Eye, perfectly themed for our prospecting, spelunking build. I make sure to scoop up the rest of my loot before I head to the depth rewards. Because of our beautiful brand new Thief's Eye, we get 2 blessings and 2 blessing upgrades. I go ahead and upgrade the duration from stacking barrier, as well as my primary gold burst. I'd love to get that chance for gold burst up to 100%. We go ahead and sell our sushi and pick up enduring barrier. I use the soul fragments from the boss fight to re-roll this blessing into a fortune, and I pick up exponential gold. Faced with our next corrupted depth, it's go big or go home. Sometimes you'll find yourself with a bonus objective. This time I got Evasion Trial. If I can complete the whole depth without taking damage, I'll get an extra chest. If I'm fast enough, Barrier is actually really effective at being able to do this, as the damage taken has to remove health for it to fill your child. I must admit, to say I panicked here would be an understatement. Thankfully we had the barrier to help keep our trial going. Now this run was 4 hours long, so for the sake of your sanity and your patience, I've decided to fast forward through some of the chambers. You'll see the camera move like this quite often. As we finish out the chamber, I see in the map 3 chests. My Thief's Eye is about to be put to work. I decided to skip the well since it would have sacrificed health, failing the trial. You'll see here what's generally good movement practice. Obviously you want to keep circling around the arena, not standing still. If you ever played games like Risk of Rain, you'll find this a common feature. The more you stand still, the more likely you are to get hit. Unfortunately, I do get bonked here and I lose my trial, so no extra chest for me. This chamber does have a wishing well where I try my luck. I go ahead and snag a syringe and move on. You'll see me trying to stay off the ground as often as I can here, as well as using my imploding grenades to keep people grouped together for easy kills. One of my deep water modifiers is that the last enemy of the chamber becomes a berserker. This is why you'll often see me having to put a little extra ammo on the final enemy. On to the corrupted death reward. I go ahead and sell the snow phone, pick up the souls for my dynamite, and upgrade my primary gold burst 2 times in a row. This brings my primary's chance to cause a gold burst up to 97%. The blessing altar from the same chamber allows me to grab Midas Touch for my primary, allowing my gold burst to start earning my money. Heading into depth 4, I find my first merchant. A key on this chest nets me 90 gold. I purchased myself 2 more fortune blessings, reaching gold and precise gold. Now my gold burst can crit and spread to more enemies. I replace overkill with golden ticket for cheaper merchants from here on. I reroll the last blessing and I pick up rapid barrier for better cooldowns on my shield. This boss will summon hordes of enemies before its first and second phase. Since I've got Midas Touch and my primary gold burst, I use that opportunity to earn some extra money since I just spent pretty much everything. The boss's first real phase is rather straightforward, dodge his ground slams, and shoot him in the dome where his weak spot is. On higher deep water levels, the boss's health does scale pretty exponentially, so I will be fast forwarding through a lot of these fights. Now because of the massive exponential scaling of the health pools, I understand if this isn't the most entertaining gameplay, so let me guys know in the future if you'd like me to play on lower deep water levels for these themed runs. I kind of enjoy the boss fight personally. The massive health pool, the long drawn out fights, reminds me a lot of old MMOs, like WoW and raid bosses. With this boss, make sure you keep an eye out during Phase 2. The missiles he was firing between Phase 1 and 2 will continuously go off throughout the rest of the fight. If we do maintain the high deep water levels in future runs, I would kind of be forced to use either Hemorrhaging or Frost in all builds, just because they have percentage value attacks. And unfortunately, you might need those to deal with some of these massive health pools. I collect my prizes, sell the charm, heal myself, and gather my reward. I upgrade the Reaching Gold for better AoE and move on to the next Corrupted Depth. Continuing on through Depth 5, I'm going to go ahead and start skipping some chambers here and there that has no real improvement or changes, and just skip to the rewards and show you my loot. When I do pick up any powerful or game-changing blessings, I will show the next room though so you can see its effectiveness. I did find something valuable here, the skeleton key. After some deliberation, I decided to replace my golden ticket with it. From the altar, I go ahead and pick up Growing Spirits. And I conveniently find a use for my skeleton key right away. Chamber 2 gives us an upgrade to our primary. This deletes another rather straightforward enemy. Just keep your distance, and when he goes into his dash like that, make sure you dash past the direction he's going in, give you more time to jump over the barrier he erects when he lands. Also, from here on, we're going to have a lot more heavy editing in these boss fights. This fight alone took almost 10 minutes against just an elite enemy. With the enemy felled, we grab the rewards, knock his body into the river, and pick up our next blessing, which is our Fortune Major Blessing, Lethal Gold. Grab some gold out of the slot chest, and then some blessings. Gold Rush lets me get some fire rate and reload speed, Pot of Gold randomly upgrades Blessing as I get money, and Golden Pocket lets me save money at merchants. Our next pickup is an Ancient Forge where I equip Gas Grenade and Combustion Muzzle, leaving pools behind for my Dynamite and allowing my first in chamber to deal more damage. Next up at this altar is Erupting Gold, allowing our gold burst to explode on impact. Because of our depth challenge, we get a free merchant here, where I go ahead and max out my fortune tree with Brutish Gold and Golden Haste. This grants us some on-hit damage as well as mobility. I also grab Plentiful Spirits, which reduces my Dynamite's cost to summon them by half. I'm immediately greeted by another merchant at the next depth, where I grab Retaliating Barrier and get some extra gold from the chest. There's not many tips on the blood variant of this boss, but for this attack, it'll attack left, and then right in quick succession. For the next attack, it's going to spin you around counterclockwise. If you move with it and dash backwards, you can stay out of his attack. But don't fall in like me. This next one is the wave attack. It's a little further spaced apart than the regular variant, So you don't have to do a figure 8 pattern like I am here, but it is a little bit easier to dodge. His wave crash will also leave a permeating effect on the ground that just out over time. I think it was about right here where I figured out that picking a semi-automatic weapon for this challenge was a bad idea. My finger's gonna be hella sore after this. I chase my loot down the hole where I sell the boss's charm and pick up everything else. At the blessing upgrade, I upgrade my pot of gold. Chamber 1 treats us to a blessing upgrade, so I increase my barrier's duration. In Chamber 2, I find a few chests, as well as my next and final forge. At the forge, I go ahead and grab shrapnel grenades to add dot on top of the grass, and fast trigger for when I spam the primary. I'm also lucky enough to grab a discounted barrier major blessing. This blessing grants your barrier an aura of constant damage. We're going to go ahead and let this chamber play out so you kind of have a standing of where I am with add damage. We're looking pretty good on room clear, and that's only going to get bigger as we gain more money. Speaking of, I sell all 4 of these charms from my depth challenge. The next blessing altar, we go ahead and pick up Aggression Possession, so our spirits do more damage over time. I'm going to go ahead and grab a few max health upgrades in exchange for using one of my syringes to top me off afterwards. Nothing too interesting happens in the next 2 chambers, nor does anything really get found or gained, so we'll go ahead and breeze through these. At the end of Chamber 3 I do get some gold though, and I make my way to the Elite. This boss isn't too difficult to fight. You can actually neuter most of its attacks by destroying its crystalline hands. I sell the charm and gather up the loot, making my way to the blessing altar where I pick up Friendly Possession to give me some extra damage. Merchant around the corner offers me 3 barrier blessings, and I go ahead and take them all. My 3 pickups here are Dazing, Empowering, and Energizing Barrier. Enemies take more damage when they hit it, I deal more damage when I have it, as well as my fire rate increases. I move on, but not before buying a syringe as well. Chamber 1 proves pretty useful, with both Suspended Barrier and Overwhelming Spirits into the chests. From the Corrupted Depth Award, I grab Lasting Defense for Charging Barrier and upgrade Wrapping Barrier and Pot of Gold. I also grab Consuming Spirits from the altar. We found another merchant, so of course we gotta buy him out with Rapid Spirits, Barraging Spirits, and Bouncing Spirits. This lets my spirits charge faster, bounce, and deal more damage hit in rapid succession. With another merchant in depth 12, I can finish off my blessings with Exploding Spirits, Generative Spirits, and I get another upgrade for exploding. The High Priests aren't very complicated bosses, but they do a lot of damage and they have a lot of health. Make sure you avoid the big red lines on the ground. Jump through the lasers. and break the crystals. If the tween phase segment just consists of a short parkour arena up to the top to destroy a crystal. Failing to do so will let him regenerate some health. We go ahead and fire the boss, make it to payday, and get our gains. We go ahead and upgrade exponential gold for more damage based on our currency. Now we might have cleared this boss, but a prospector's job is never done. Not as long as there's gold to be gained. With our build finished and the prospector diving into its next loop, stay tuned for tomorrow to find the conclusion to our hero's story. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this content, subscribe to let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.